Hello, my name is McKay Galliano Adams. Welcome to my kitchen in Mill Creek, Utah. Today we're going to talk about yerba mate. If you know me at all, you've probably seen me with this very same set drinking this tea. Well, today I'm going to tell you more about it, specifically how you can make your own cup of yerba mate. My mom was born and raised in Paraguay, where yerba mate is very popular, so I grew up drinking this. My mom likes to drink it like a tea. She'll prepare it with milk and sugar. If you want to do that, it's about half a tablespoon of yerba mate will brew 1 cup of tea. My dad liked to drink yerba mate with cold water, which is also very popular in Paraguay. They call it tereré. So when it was summertime, after working in the yard, we'd come back, have yerba mate with cold water. In Paraguay, the traditional gourd or cup is a hollowed out cow horn with a larger straw, or this is called a bombilla, longer straw, bigger holes to drink the cold water. They also, in Paraguay, it's very popular, very common to add extra herbs like lemon verbena, mint, other herbs, crush them up, put them in the water, adds to the flavor. Really good, refreshing way to drink mate. The most traditional way is yerba mate with hot water. You have the gourd. You see this is a smaller bombilla with smaller holes. The leaves in the gourd here, fill it up with hot water and drink it. In Argentina, they will add sugar or sweetener. I like to drink it without any sugar, so that's called amargo, mate amargo. You'll notice I have my day-to-day mate is a metal gourd. These have become a lot more popular because they're really easy to clean, really clean flavor. I can actually keep the mate in here throughout the day and it doesn't get too strong or lose its flavor. The traditional gourd is, of course, an actual gourd that's been hollowed out. These are still fun to use, but you need to cure the inside and then you need to promptly clean them after you're done using them. You can't let it sit too long, it'll taste bad. I still have several of these, but don't use them too often. Wood ones are very similar concept. You got to clean them right away. I got to cure them. If they sit too long, it begins to taste bad. So these are cool to have. You just got to take care of them. These metal ones are a lot more popular now. I see them quite a bit, even for tereré. This is typically the one I use in the summertime for tereré. Well, the number one thing I hear from friends and people who try mate for the first time is that it's very strong, it's very bitter, and that it must be an acquired taste. And I think that's true to an extent, but I've found that there are a few things you can do to reduce the bitterness, reduce the strength, and make a really nice cup of mate. The first thing that can contribute to the bitterness is the dry time. My uncles told me there was a law in Paraguay where yerba mate had to be dried for at least 24 hours before it could be packaged and sold. I don't know if that's true, but yerba mate that has been dried for about 2 years tends to be less bitter from my experience. Some brands don't dry as long and it's very green. It can be very strong and very bitter. I like these brands up here. This is the one I drink the most. It's called Guayaquil, is how you pronounce that. It's an American brand. It's dried really well. It's organic and it's readily available. You can find this in most grocery stores. It is more expensive, unfortunately, but it's so smooth and really nice that this is the one that I use in my daily mate. Guayaquil there's a park in Paraguay called Parque Guayaquil. It's an area in Paraguay where they grow a lot of yerba mate. I've actually been past that. I have an uncle that lives just past Guayaquil in Kawasu, which is a Guarani word. Wasu means large, Ka'a means plant or herb, I think. So where the big plants are, I have an uncle there just past Guayaquil. The one on the end here is called La Merced. This is from Argentina. This flavor and a couple other flavors I know for sure are dried 18 to 24 months. These are really good, not too strong. And I use this primarily for mate cocido. Half a tablespoon of this per cup of water in a tea strainer or percolator. Tastes really good. The last one I have here, this is what I use for tereré, cold water. This is a brand from Paraguay called Curupi. Very strong. Works well with cold water because the cold water doesn't extract as much flavor from the leaves. So it's really good for cold water, much too strong for hot water. In Paraguay, they'll dry them for the right amount of time, at least 2 years, but a lot of them will use smoke to dry it. Some of them can be very strong, very strong smoky flavor, which is nice sometimes, but I found that was also too strong to drink every day. Right now I'm doing a blend, 3 scoops Guayaki, 1 scoop Merced. Turns out really, really good. In addition to that is the dust, the amount of dust that's in the yerba mate. I found that dust increases the bitterness. So what I do, actually, I have a strainer here, and what I'll do is when I buy a new bag of Guayaki, I'll sift out the dust and then put the rest in this jar here. So you can see this is Guayaki, sifted Guayaki, really nice, big leaves, not a lot of dust, and that really helps a lot. So that's the first step. Make sure you get a nice dry mate with not too much dust. The next thing, the amount of yerba mate that you want to use. Okay, like I said, half a tablespoon and 1 cup of water is a good ratio for mate cocido. More than that gets too strong. And this is a little bit trickier when you're putting a bunch of mate in a cup. So what you want to do to control the amount that gets steeped is create a tilt method. I'll show you what I mean in a minute. Well, what I'm drinking out here, you see I've got the mate kind of piled up to a side here, and then there's a space on the right. And so when I pour water, I pour into the side, and then I'm steeping the bottom portion of the leaves. And that's what I'm drinking. And as those lose flavor, you can see they float when they still have flavor, and the leaves drop down when they've extracted all the flavor. And so as they lose flavor, I start to add more and kind of climb up that slope and continue to steep to the top. And this allows you to control the flavor instead of steeping all of that all at once, getting like really strong 3 or 4 sips or fills. This allows me to sip on this really throughout the day and get 2 thermos full of water out of this. So I'll show you how to do that in a minute. The next thing to consider is the water temperature. Hotter water extracts faster. And so what you want to do when you start out is you want to soak the leaves, prepare the leaves in a room temperature or cool water, and not pour in the hot water all at once. I found if you go straight to the hot water, the leaves almost get shocked and they just release a ton, and that can be very strong and very, very bitter. So what you want to do is soak it in cold water, get the leaves wet, kind of get them ready to be steeped, and then you can add the hot water, and it's not so strong and jarring. Along with that is the temperature. We've upgraded to this Cuisinart water heater, electric water heater, because we can control the temperature, which is very nice. I typically will drink mate at 200 degrees, and there's a button here I can just push 200 degrees, and that's about as hot as I'll ever go, just below boiling. But I've found over the last few days I had a little bit of a sore throat, and so what I did is I lowered the temperature about 175 or 185, and I also added some honey in my water, and that was actually very pleasant. It wasn't too strong, and I found that the mate was actually lasting longer because the temperature was a little bit lower. All right, those are some tips for you to consider when you're preparing your mate. Now I'll show you exactly how I do it, okay? So I mentioned the amount is important. So what is helpful is to know how much you can fit in the gourd that you have. Not all gourds are the same, and they have different amounts. So what I'll show you what I've done. I found that this one holds half a cup of yerba mate, and this one is half the size inside. This one holds 1/4 cup. So what you want to do is have your mate, your bombilla ready. This is full of cold water. That's ready. So what you want to do is you take the leaves of your choice. This is the sifted guayaki I've got here, and this scoop is a 1/8 scoop. And I know that this gourd works best with 1/4 cup, so that's 2 scoops of the guayaki. All right, so we'll come over here, take a look at the leaves. You see that is nice big leaves, not a lot of dust, and that's a good sign. Also not very green, kind of a dull color. That means that's very dry, and that's good. So even though I've dusted this, I will still dust this and just shake it a little bit. Just get those leaves to hop up a little bit, shake out some dust, and you'll see there's not a ton, but it will collect here on the side, and that is what that'll make it bitter. That extra little bit of dust dissolves really quickly in the hot water and adds a lot of bitterness. So I'll just shake this a couple times, and then just wipe out the dust from the side. I'll do that every time. All right, now let me show you what I mean by the amount and the slope. So if I tilt this now to the side, like that, see a little bit of dust here. What I'm trying to do is I want to get this mate to go from the top of the lip here and still see a corner of the bottom right there. This is the perfect amount because it'll go, I got some at the very top and I can see just a corner of the bottom poking out. That's perfect. So I'll put my bombilla right there and set this up, and now I've got a nice steep slope to work with. Okay, and again, this helps us not steep too much at one time, right? We want this to last a little bit longer. So now what I'll do now is I'll take the cold water, this is actually just cool water out of the tap, and I'll pour it down that side here to the top. So here's a look at the larger one. You can see once it soaks, then you can add hot water to the side and only steep part of that. And try and keep the top dry for as long as possible. This one's already starting to get a little wet here, but this part down here is still dry. So you want to keep that as dry for as long as possible, and then drink out of the side. Now what you want to try to do is you want to try and avoid touching or moving the straw, especially when there's water inside. If you move this straw or start twisting it, moving around while there's water in it like this, you're going to push leaves into the straw. And so the next time you drink, you'll get leaves. Now, if you need to kind of reform the leaves here, do it when there's no water. So this water is all gone. I'll show you what you can do now that they're gone. You can just kind of like push those back to the side and create that space again. And that will minimize any leaves getting into the bombilla. Those are really the tricks. Keep the slope going so you don't steep too much. We've got a dry, dust-free yerba, and we've got a low temperature water right now. So this right now is actually very pleasant, very mild, not too strong at all. So I can drink, 2 thermoses of this every day. So once you've got the hang of that, you might actually enjoy it more than you think. I like the ritual. I like the preparation it takes. I like that I can sip on it pretty much all morning, and it's very relaxing. Yerba mate does have, it's full of antioxidants and minerals. It's an alkaline. There is some caffeine in yerba mate, although some people would argue that it's different. I have found that the caffeine from the yerba mate does not impact me the same as caffeine from, say, coffee or soda. There are times where I will drink a little bit of mate or mate cocido before going to bed, and actually have no problems going to sleep, sleeping really well. So there is something a little bit different in the caffeine distribution in yerba mate. It's a digestive aid, but it's organic. It's healthy for you, and it's a big part of the culture down there. This is a more practical video. Maybe I'll do another video follow-up and talk more about the kind of cultural impacts of yerba mate. But I think that's it for now. I'm gonna brew some more water and keep drinking.